I never thought I'd be the guy writing a story like this, but here I am. My name's Mark, and I've been with my wife, Lisa, for about 8 years now. We met in college, fell hard, got married, and since then, life's kind of in a steady, predictable flow. We had our ups and downs, sure, but nothing that I thought was insurmountable. We'd argue about small stuff, who left the dishes out or whether she was spending too much time with her friends. But on the whole, I believed we had a good thing, or so I thought. Our summer cabin has always been our escape, a little slice of peace away from the city. She loved it because it was our place, a spot where we could unwind, disconnect, and just enjoy each other's company. It's funny how, looking back, I didn't notice the little things that started bothering me. Lisa, my wife, had always been a bit bitchy, I'll admit. She's sharp, quick to dismiss anyone she doesn't like, and has a way of twisting things to her advantage. She's always been a good liar, too, smarter than most, and she knew how to hide her tracks. But I was blinded by love, or maybe just too comfortable to see what was really going on. The first signs of trouble started a couple of months ago. She'd become a little more distant at times, canceling plans suddenly or seeming distracted when I was trying to talk about future plans. She also started spending more time on her phone, hiding the screen when I walked in the room. I didn't think much of it at first because I figured maybe she was just stressed or had some work stuff. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Then there was the trip to the cabin last summer. I remember her being unusually tense, snapping at me over small things and canceling a few planned outings with her friends. I asked her about it, and she rolled her eyes, told me I was overthinking, that she was just tired. She's a master at dismissing concerns with a smirk and a little bit of attitude, making me feel like I was paranoid. But I couldn't get rid of this nagging doubt, especially since I caught her lying about where she was one night. She said she was working late at her office. I found out later she'd been texting a guy named Josh from her gym, and that texts weren't just work stuff. I saw enough to know that something was definitely up, but I didn't confront her right away. Still, I kept my eye on her. And of course, the more I looked, the more I started noticing little things. Her late nights, the way she'd avoid my eyes when I asked about her day, the way she'd quickly delete messages or hide her phone when I entered the room. I was starting to feel like I was losing her, and honestly, that hurt more than I wanted to admit. Because I loved her, or at least I thought I did. But every suspicious glance, every broken promise, just added weight to the feeling that I was being played. Then came the night that shattered everything. I was supposed to meet her at the cabin a few days before our wedding, just to get things ready, you know. I was excited, nervous even, thinking about starting a new chapter. I had arranged for us to leave early, but I got an unexpected call from a friend, saying Lisa had canceled last minute, said she was feeling ill. That had been odd, but I figured she was just being dramatic, as she sometimes was. When I finally arrived at the cabin that evening, I was exhausted but happy to finally get some time with her. I unlocked the door, and that's when I saw the messages. I wasn't even looking for them. I just grabbed my phone to check the weather forecast. And there they were. Texts from her phone to Josh, the same guy I'd caught her texting before. The messages weren't just friendly, no, they were flirtatious, intimate. She was talking about sex, about how much she missed the feeling of being desired, about plans to meet up. My stomach dropped. I don't think I've ever felt so betrayed in my entire life. How could she do this? How could she lie so blatantly, then come up with all these stupid excuses when I confronted her? That night, everything changed. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. The messages between Lisa and Josh weren't just casual chat. They were loaded with sex talk, plans, and even little confessions that made my stomach turn. It was all there on my phone, right in front of me. I stared at the screen, feeling like I'd been punched in the gut. How long had this been going on? Was I blind? Or just so damn comfortable that I missed all the signs? My mind was racing, and I could feel the anger bubbling up in me, mixed with this crushing wave of sadness. I waited until she came back from whatever errand she had said she was doing. When she opened the door, smiling, of course, something inside me snapped. I pulled her aside, kept my voice steady but cold as I showed her the messages. Her face changed instantly. The fake smile faded, replaced by a scowl. She looked at me like I'd just slapped her. "What are you doing? Why are you going through my phone?" She snapped, trying to play innocent like I was the one in the wrong. I just stared at her, furious. "Tell me what this is, Lisa. Who is Josh?" She tried to shrug me off, but I wasn't buying it. "It's nothing, just a stupid joke." "You're overreacting," she spat, her eyes narrowing. "I don't know what you think you saw, but I swear there's nothing going on. We're just friends, okay? It's just sex talk, it's not a big deal." Her voice sounded rehearsed, like she'd already prepared her lies, but I knew better. I could see the guilt all over her face. I felt my jaw tighten and my fists clench. I knew deep down I should have just walked away then, cut my losses, forget about the wedding, and leave her to whatever mess she was creating. But I didn't. Instead, I confronted her directly. I told her I saw the messages, that she'd been lying to me for months, and that I didn't want to be with someone who thought she could cheat and get away with it. Her eyes flashed with anger, just pure venom. "You're making a big deal out of nothing," she sneered. "You're just jealous, or maybe you're insecure. Honestly, I don't even know why I'm with you. You're boring as hell, and I'm tired of pretending everything's perfect." That was when she started lying outright. She said I was paranoid, that I was imagining things, that Josh was just a guy from the gym, and that I had no right to get upset over a few texts. She called me insecure, accused me of snooping because I couldn't trust her. I felt my blood boil. I told her I wasn't going to listen to her bullshit anymore. I told her I'd had enough of her lies, her games, her stupid excuses. She kept denying everything, but I saw through her. I saw the flicker of guilt in her eyes, the way she fidgeted, the way she tried to turn it around on me. That night I was a mess. I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying everything in my head. She was still lying, still trying to gaslight me. I felt betrayed, humiliated, and stupid for not seeing it sooner. How long had she been doing this? How many times had she lied to me? The worst part was realizing that I'd been blind, thinking we had a good relationship when she was out there, sneaking around, cheating on me with my best friend. And that's when it hit me. This wasn't just about the messages. It was about trust, respect, the foundation of everything I thought we had. All the years I'd spent building something with her, and she'd just thrown it away for some stupid thrill with Josh. I was angry, yes, but mostly I was heartbroken. How could someone who once loved me so much turn into this lying, manipulative person? I felt like I was losing my mind, trying to hold on to the last shred of what we had. I knew one thing: this had to end, one way or another. I wasn't going to let her keep lying, keep sneaking around, keep destroying what little was left of us. I made up my mind that I'd confront her again, but this time with a plan. I had to decide what I was willing to do, whether I could forgive her or if this was the end of the line. I was tired of being the one who always tried to fix things, only to get punched in the face every time she lied and betrayed me. As I sat there, staring at her, I realized that my love and patience had run out. The betrayal had cut too deep. What I really wanted was to get out of this mess, to reclaim myself and figure out what life looked like after her. I didn't have all the answers yet, but I knew I couldn't stay blind to what was right in front of me anymore. The next morning, I woke up with a heavy weight pressing down on my chest. Sleep had been restless, filled with nightmares of her and Josh, of lies and betrayal flashing behind closed eyelids. I knew I had to confront her again, but I also knew I needed to keep my cool, at least until I figured out what I really wanted to do. I wasn't about to lose my temper in front of her, not yet. I needed a game plan, some clarity. But damn, the hurt was so raw it made me want to scream. Lisa was still asleep when I got up. She looked peaceful, like nothing had happened, but I knew better. She spent the night pretending everything was normal, probably trying to come up with more lies, more excuses. I wasn't in the mood for her bullshit. I started packing some of my belongings quietly: clothes, a few personal items I knew I'd want if I decided to leave. I didn't tell her I was planning on leaving just yet, but I was leaning that way. I wanted to see what she'd do when she realized I wasn't going to play her game anymore. I decided to go for a walk, clear my head. Outside, the early morning air was cold, and the lake reflected the gray sky. I sat on the dock for a while, staring at the water, trying to sort through my thoughts. Part of me still wanted to believe she'd be honest and apologize, maybe even beg me to forgive her. But a bigger, colder part of me knew that wasn't going to happen. Lisa was a master at spinning stories, and I knew her game, lying, manipulating, pretending to be the victim until she got what she wanted. I'd seen it so many times before with her. While I was out there, she came outside looking irritated. She knew I was upset. She could tell I was on the edge. She tried to come over, acting all innocent, like she hadn't slept at all, like she was the one wronged here. "Hey, are you okay? You've been out here a while," she said, trying to sound casual. I looked at her, and for a second I saw that bitchy smirk that always makes me want to punch her. "I'm fine," I said flatly, just thinking. She rolled her eyes, thinking about what, "You're overreacting like always." Her voice was clipped, dismissive. That was her go-to move, deny everything, dismiss my feelings, and make me feel like I was crazy for even questioning her. That's what she always did, and honestly, I was starting to get tired of it. I could see her trying to play the victim like I was the one who messed everything up, but I wasn't buying it anymore. "I saw the messages," I said finally, my voice low but steady. "And I don't believe your bullshit anymore. You've been lying to me for months, Lisa, about Josh, about everything." I paused, trying to keep my composure. "I don't know what the hell you think you're doing, but I'm done pretending I don't see it." She scoffed. "What are you talking about? You're crazy. You always jump to conclusions. Maybe you're the one cheating and trying to deflect." Her words stung, but I kept my face impassive. I wasn't going to fall into her trap. I told her I knew about her and Josh, about the sex talk, about how she'd been sneaking around behind my back. She looked furious now, her eyes narrowing. "You're so paranoid. God, Mark, I can't believe you're acting like this. You're just jealous because I won't sleep with you right now. Or maybe you're mad because I don't want to be tied down to your boring ass anymore. Whatever. I don't owe you an explanation." Her voice was rising, and I could see the anger bubbling to the surface. That's when I decided enough was enough. I told her I was done with her lies, that I wasn't going to be played anymore. I told her I was leaving, whether that was physically leaving that day or just emotionally distancing myself for good. I knew she'd try to keep me, to guilt-trip me, to manipulate her way back into my good graces, but I was done being the fool. She looked panicked for a second, then threw on her usual attitude. "Fine. Do whatever you want. It's not like I care. You're just a boring, insecure little man anyway," she snapped. I could see her trying to keep her cool, but I also saw her trembling a little. Good. Maybe that was her realization. She'd pushed me too far. Or maybe she knew I was serious about ending this mess. I grabbed my things, told her I'd be back later to pick up the rest of my stuff, and left her standing there, fuming. I didn't look back. I felt a strange mixture of relief and heartbreak. Relief because I finally had some clarity, heartbreak because it was over. I'd loved her once, but now I could see she never really loved me back, not in the way I deserved. On the drive home, I replayed everything in my head. How I'd ignored the signs, how I'd convinced myself it was all just in my head, but I knew the truth now. She'd been cheating, lying, and manipulating me, and I had to accept that I was better off without her. The pain was still there, but so was a newfound sense of freedom. I promised myself I wouldn't let anyone treat me like that again. No more lies, no more betrayal, just me. And maybe someday I'll find someone who values honesty and respect. But for now, I just needed to breathe and figure out how to move on from this nightmare. The days that followed were a blur. I threw myself into packing up the rest of my things from the cabin. Every item, every memory there now felt like a ghost of what used to be. I kept thinking about how Lisa had lied, how she'd betrayed me in the worst way possible. It's strange how someone you love can turn into a stranger so quickly. I kept asking myself if I'd missed the signs, if I'd been blind or just too comfortable. But deep down, I knew I had been blinded by love, and now I was paying the price. The hardest part was the silence after I left. No more angry texts or late-night phone calls, just an empty space where my trust used to be. I kept replaying that night in my head over and over, trying to find some clarity. How could she look me in the eyes and lie so easily? I thought about the fake apologies, the tears she tried to fake when I confronted her. Honestly, I never believed her for a second. She's always been good at pretending, smiling, blaming me, twisting things around so she's never the villain. But I could see through her. Now I'd seen her true face, and it wasn't pretty. One thing I realized was that I wasn't just angry, I was devastated. I had built my entire life with her, planned a future, thought we were solid. And in the blink of an eye, she destroyed all of it. But amid that pain, there was also a strange sense of clarity. I'd been so caught up in trying to make her happy, trying to hold on to what we had, that I'd ignored the obvious. She didn't respect me. She didn't love me. She just wanted her freedom, her little thrill with Josh, and she didn't care what it cost me. I reached out to some friends, mainly to talk, mainly to keep from going crazy. One buddy, Tom, listened quietly and then said something that stuck with me. "You gotta decide what you're worth, man. Don't let her drag you down." It's funny how someone outside your situation can see things more clearly. I realized I'd been letting her walk all over me, making excuses for her, justifying her lies. No more, I was done playing that game. I also reached out to a lawyer just to understand my options. I hadn't really thought about divorce yet, but I knew I had to protect myself, my finances, my home, my dignity. I wasn't about to let her keep control, even if it meant making some calls and going through the legal mess. Part of me still loved her, but another part knew that love wasn't enough when someone betrays you this badly. I had to look out for myself now. At some point, I started thinking about what I'd do next. Would I try to fix this? Could I forgive? Honestly, I didn't think I was ready for that. Right now, I felt too raw, too betrayed. I knew I needed space, time to heal, and maybe that meant being single for a while. I had always believed in working through problems, but this was something different. It felt like the end of everything I thought was real. But I have to admit, there's a strange relief in realizing I don't have to pretend anymore. I don't have to act like everything's okay when I know the truth. I can finally breathe and start figuring out what kind of life I want beyond her. I won't lie, the pain is still there. Every time I see her lying or dismissing what she did, it stings all over again. But I also know I'm stronger than I thought. I survived this and I will get through it. I guess what I want anyone reading this to know is that even when you're on the ground, it's possible to pick yourself up. It's okay to feel hurt, angry, or even lost. Just don't stay there forever. Reach out, lean on your friends, and take the time to rebuild. Because at the end of the day, your happiness and self-respect matter most. I might be broken right now, but I'm still here, still fighting to find my way out of this mess. Months went by, and honestly, it was like living in a fog. Some days were better than others, but the wound of betrayal stayed fresh, a constant reminder of what I'd lost. I kept myself busy, working more, hitting the gym, reconnecting with friends I'd neglected. But underneath all that, I was still angry, still hurt. Every time I thought about Lisa and what she did, it felt like a punch to the gut. I kept asking myself if I'd ever really known her or if I'd just been naive. One day, I got a call from a lawyer confirming that the divorce was moving forward. It felt surprisingly hollow. I'd expected some relief, some feeling of closure, but what I really felt was numb. I didn't shed tears, didn't scream or break down. Just a quiet acknowledgement that I was finally ending what I should have ended long ago. That's when I realized something. I've been holding on to hope that she'd change, that she'd see the damage she'd caused and maybe, just maybe, come back and fix things. But that was a fantasy. She'd chosen her side, Josh, her lies, her freedom, and I had to accept it. In that silence, I started reflecting on what I'd learned. The biggest lesson: never ignore the small signs. The sudden mood swings, the late nights, the dismissiveness, those weren't just little quirks. They were red flags I'd brushed aside because I loved her. Now I knew love isn't enough if it isn't mutual, if there's no honesty and respect. I also realized how much I'd let her manipulate me, how I'd sacrificed my own happiness trying to hold everything together. Revenge. Honestly, I didn't want to get. Even in some childish way. I wasn't interested in hurting her or making her feel bad. I just wanted to reclaim my life. I started focusing on myself, on what truly made me happy. I bought a new boat, took up fishing again, and even started dating casually. Nothing serious yet, but I wanted to remind myself that I could still enjoy life without her controlling the narrative. There's one thing I'll say: betrayal cuts deep, but it also teaches you who you really are. I've become more cautious, more aware of my worth, and more determined to trust my instincts. Maybe someday I'll find someone who truly values me, someone who doesn't lie or cheat or manipulate. But for now, I'm just grateful I finally got out of that toxic chapter. I don't dwell on what I lost anymore. Instead, I focus on what I've gained: clarity, strength, and the knowledge that I deserve honesty and respect, no matter what. Looking back, I wish I'd seen the signs sooner, but I also know that some lessons only come when you're ready to learn them. If you're ever in a similar situation, my advice is this: don't ignore your gut. Don't justify the lies or the betrayal. And most importantly, don't be afraid to walk away if that's what it takes to protect yourself. Love is supposed to lift you up, not tear you down. And I've learned that the hard way. Now I'm just trying to rebuild, one step at a time. Looking back on everything, I realize how much I've changed, how much this whole experience has stripped away the illusions I used to cling to. I used to believe in fairy tale endings, in perfect relationships where trust was absolute. But life isn't like that. Sometimes, the person you love the most turns out to be the one who hurts you the deepest, and that's a hard lesson to swallow. What's left now is a person who's a little more cautious, a lot more cautious, but also someone who's finally starting to see his own worth. I've learned the importance of setting boundaries, of listening to my instincts, and of never ignoring red flags. Because when you do, you risk losing everything: your peace of mind, your happiness, and sometimes the person you thought was your forever. This whole mess has pushed me to reevaluate what I want in life. I no longer see love as something that can be forced or faked. It's about honesty, respect, and loyalty, things I now know I need to feel secure. And if I don't get them, then I walk away. That's the real lesson I want to pass on: know your worth and don't settle for less. No matter how much you love someone, they have to meet you halfway. If they don't, then you're only setting yourself up for heartbreak. So here I am, finally free from the chaos, finally able to breathe and start over. I can look in the mirror and honestly say I did the right thing, even if it hurt like hell at first. I've realized that sometimes the greatest act of love is walking away, because that's the only way to save yourself. And maybe someday I'll find someone who truly values me, not just for who I am, but for who I will become. Until then, I'll keep rebuilding, keep healing, and keep reminding myself that life goes on. That betrayal may leave scars, but it also teaches resilience. And if there's one thing I know now, it's that I'm stronger than my pain. I'll never let anyone take that away from me again.